Welcome to the show, Mishelle.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, what is your sober date?
July 19th, 2023.
Oh, so you just hit a year a couple months ago.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
What was going on July 8th of 2023?
July 18th,
Or 18th, yeah.
um, I went out that night and I was in Orlando, Florida, and I went out with an old friend because I lived in Orlando before, so I met up with her, and it was just an all night drinking thing um, which ended in cocaine, and that kept us up all night. And it was like 8 in the morning. You know, the sun's coming up, and I was just really tired. And she wanted to go get more, and I was just like, "No, like I'm supposed to go home because my kids were out of town, but they were about to be back home." So I rushed home, but like I fell right asleep because I was so tired. So that whole day I like slept, and then I woke up, and I guess I decided to get sober that day once I saw my kids, but I felt bad because I was so tired, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, being hungover so many times, you finally are just like, all right,
Yeah, and cocaine and alcohol go together.
you
Like,
do.
I feel like if you do coke, you also drink a lot. Like, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, so for me, with the liquor, as much as I did drink, which was a lot, just straight liquor. I think the cocaine for me helped me like tighten up so that I could drink more.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that. So we'll backtrack a bit. What did you discover first, alcohol or drugs?
At, I would say 14, back when Spice was a thing.
You're the second person to say that, actually.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr.
Like,
Nice Guy. Yeah. I think I was 14. Pretty young.
yeah, yeah, it's easy to get started young. Where did you grow up?
I mostly grew up in Charleston, which is where I'm at now.
There's been a lot of people on here from Charleston. Is that how you found me?
Um, I believe you and I may have been in another group a long time ago. Maybe before the first time I tried to get sober. I think I've had you as a friend from the first time I got sober, and then now here. But Charleston is full of drugs and a lot of partying, and yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some stories over the years. I think Charleston and Ohio are the two biggest places that I've had on the show. Um, Either people from Charleston or people from Ohio. It's kind of weird because I've never even been to Charleston, and I've barely even I've driven through Ohio, but not really stopped in Ohio to like hang out. And I'm getting
Mhm.
all these people from Ohio and Charleston, and I'm in a bunch of sober groups, so I'm not really sure which sober group we may have found each other. But I've been doing this show for 3 years now, so it definitely could have spanned over the time if you had some relapses.
Yeah.
Um, Now, the first person I had that talked about spice being their first drug, they were like 13 years old. Who introduced you to it?
Well, the reason I smoked spice was because I was on probation, and unfortunately, my mom introduced it to me. Um, it was right at the smoke shop as potpourri. I think being sold as potpourri, right? And I was on probation for running away. I used to not want to be home. Um, I started drinking at an early age.
I
So I
was 11 when I started drinking.
11, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have parents that drink, it's more likely going to be them having fun and then getting you involved. If you're like a cool younger teenager, they're going to say, hey, you can have a drink, but at home, right? And
Well,
then,
I was the first of three, and like the oldest of three. And when I was 11, my parents weren't big drinkers, but they always threw parties, and there would always be leftover liquor at the house, and it would be in the basement hidden. And I would find it and, drink it. And then when I was 12 is when I started drinking alcoholically. And I don't mean I was drinking every day. I mean, I was drinking for the effect of wanting to numb and wanting to forget.
right,
So, and then by the time my brother was a teenager, he was allowed to drink as long as they were like sleeping over and in my parents' basement. And by the time my sister was a teenager, she was allowed to have parties as long as my mom or dad was there to collect keys. So I think
yeah,
my parents realized as they went on is they're going to drink, so we might as well just try to protect them while they do drink.
yeah. I think that's what mine did too.
But since my mom wasn't, they were, I was the oldest, so they were learning with me. Is the reason why I got so out of hand is because I was trying to rebel against their rules, as opposed to them making rules that I could do that. Because I think if they would have made rules like that for me, it wouldn't have got as out of hand as it did, because I would have had, less of a stronghold on me when it came to that.
Right,
When did
right.
you discover alcohol?
Um, I would say maybe it was like 13 or 14. Um, my parents let me try it, and I think they told me only do it at home, and then I, of course, did it outside of the house, and with that came so much trouble because that's just what happens when I drink is trouble.
And you were running away at an early age?
Yeah, I think because I wanted to party. Yeah, and it was just kind of depressing here, like at my parents, because my mom had major health issues, and my stepdad was a pretty heavy alcoholic. So I just wanted, and I'm an only child, so I just wanted to go to my friend's house. I guess I felt better away from home.
Were your friends older?
A lot of them were, yeah. I think as soon as I got into like sixth and seventh grade was when like the eighth graders really clung to me. Um, and then in high school, it was older people that I wanted to hang out with, I guess.
That makes sense. Um, how did you end up on probation for running away? Was it they hit you with curfew laws or whatever?
Um, I used to get a lot of referrals in school for skipping class, so that kind of came into hand with it. Also, they it's a charge when you're younger, to be incorrigible and not want to listen to, I guess, your parents or the law. Um, yeah, I mean, I ended up being on house arrest quite a few times because I didn't take it seriously, I guess. But yeah, I kept running away, and that's when. I mean, with the juvenile system, they like to leave it up to your parents, honestly, for the most part, to have a say so on what they think should happen. And my mom, she for some reason just thought it'd be easier maybe if I was away from home. So she started agreeing to like all of the external options they have for me, which was sending me to juvie, sending me to group homes, sending me to evaluation centers. Um, and I mean, there were gaps where I'd come home and then violate probation by drinking and smoking spice, but then they came out with the drug test for spice, and then I got sent to rehab. and I turned 16 in rehab. So yeah, this kind of was from 14 to 16, and then yeah,
That's a lot of like structure to try to put on somebody at an early age
yeah,
between, just being on house arrest and probation, you feel trapped, and in group homes, you feel like you're being watched every step you make.
yeah.
Rehab, you're definitely being watched.
Mhm.
That's a lot of pressure on you to feel
Yeah.
like you have to do better.
Nothing helped. They court ordered me to take medicine that I didn't want to take. Based off of the results that they would get when I was locked up. They would say I was depressed. They would say I was bipolar. I'm like, well, no crap, I am, you know? So it was just, it was such a mess growing up. And I mean, that was just the beginning of it all, you know? That's the crazy part. Like, because I was not drinking as heavily as I have in my 20s, you know? But that's all where it started, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get there. So is there ever a time when you're like allowed back at home and allowed back in high school like a regular teenager?
Um, well, I got expelled from my first high school, which was Cane Bay High School, for skipping class. And I also had a water bottle full of vodka, and I ended up sneaking off into the bathroom with some guy. Um, and I got expelled after that. And I think someone told on me and said that I had liquor, and the police found my water bottle. They searched my book bag and smelled that it was Kool-Aid mixed with vodka. And I think they knew what I did in the bathroom, but I didn't admit it, and they didn't know who it was. And I was happy they didn't find out, because he was like really big into sports, and he would have gotten into a lot of trouble. But anyways, expelled from there. I probably got sent away for a little bit, and went back to a different high school, but I was on house arrest. And everybody saw this monitor on my ankle, like, what? Who is this girl? You know, like, why is she on house arrest? And I used to see a lot of people, like, talk about me in the lunchroom, especially, like, because I would wear skirts and dresses with my ankle monitor. So, nah, I mean, in my opinion, none of that was normal.
No, it doesn't sound too normal to have to wear an ankle bracelet as a teenager.
No, I could only go to school, rehab, and doctor's appointments, and my probation officer.
Oh, so you were in rehab while you were going to school?
Outpatient. Yeah, always outpatient. If I wasn't in rehab, I was an outpatient.
So you can't go to parties in high school then.
I did. I ran away. I've gotten parties busted because I was the runaway. The cops showing up looking for me, and I'm, already hauling ass, jumping fences. They end up finding me at some guy's house in a closet, and that night, I got taken all the way to Columbia, which is like 2 hours from here. That's where the big juvie is. So yeah, there's so many different incidences, and I don't have them memorized in order, but yeah, um, I still somehow got to parties, and I would slip my ankle monitor off of lotion and go out. So
You knew all the tricks.
yeah,
When did you finally get taken off like with the ankle monitor? How old were you?
I would have been 17. I was 17 whenever, after rehab, I turned 16 in rehab. Then my real dad finally decided to step up and come with me, show, and he lived in Greenville, South Carolina, so that's 3 hours from here. Um, So I went over there. I was still on probation. I was on intensive probation. I came out with another ankle monitor um, with him, and I had some slip ups there. I still took the ankle monitor off, and he was like, I agree. You've been stuck at home. Go out. Leave the monitor here. And I'm like, wow. So I had a probation officer that would stop by and check like twice a week, and all she wanted me to do was stick my ankle out the front door and show her that I was home, and I still had the bracelet on. But so they agreed eventually with my successful time up there. I did go to a high school up there briefly, um, but my dad decided he wanted to move to Orlando, Florida, and I was like, well, I'm on probation. It was indefinite probation until I was 18. So I talked to my PO up there. Her name was Shelly, and she was like, well, I think you're doing good. We'll see if we can, if you move to Florida and continue school online for high school, like even if it's online, that's cool. We'll let you off probation. So that's when I got let loose, was when I moved to Florida with my dad.
And you were 17.
I was 17.
How quick do you find friends to like go out with when you're 17 at a new area in a new school? Oh, you weren't going to school though. You were doing school online, right?
Right. So I got a job at Universal Studios like not that long after I moved there, and met some friends there. And then I wasn't there for like maybe, but the thing was, I didn't really do the school. I didn't follow up with the school. I uh, told my parents I was doing it, but my dad was so busy. He worked for a property restoration company, so he was gone a lot, and I was supposed to be doing it, but I didn't. But when I when I was working at Universal Studios is when I had to take the bus there, which was brand new to me. The whole getting around
Public,
Orlando by myself at 17,
yeah,
you
public
know?
transportation.
Yeah, it was scary. It was really scary because my dad accidentally moved into the hood too. So yeah, we got there and he was so mad because it was a complete online type of ordeal, and but what I was getting to was one day on the way to Universal, I was waiting on the bus and I met my oldest daughter's dad. He pulled up on me in a car and asked me if I wanted a ride to work, and I was like, hell no. Like, I don't know you, and I feel like I'm gonna get kidnapped in Florida because that's just the only thing I had heard about Florida was it's the biggest kidnapping state, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but you got his number though.
we got. I think it was his friend's number or something, and he played me, and it was him really that hit me up, and I gave him a chance and started hanging out with him and stuff, and before I was 18. So just in that short amount of time, my dad was so busy with work, and I just kind of got tired of living with him too, because he was pretty, I don't know, he's a little grumpy at that time. Um, and I just ended up kind of moving off with my oldest daughter's dad. He let me stay with him at his house. We kind of just fell in love, and I never went back. So I've been pretty much out on my own since I was 17.
How old was he when you were
He
17?
was, I think he was 20, maybe 19. So he's not that much older than me.
But he had his own place though.
No, he lived at his mom's, and we shacked up there or wherever, but he let me drink. I think that's why I liked him. Or he would get me alcohol. Um, and then he turned 21. That's how I know he wasn't 21 yet when I first met him. But yeah, once he turned 21, it was on and popping. Like, you're going to liquor store for me, you
What
know.
was your drink of choice?
Back
Vodka?
then, back then, I mean, it's changed so much, but back then it was like brown liquor mixed with Coca Cola. I'd
Yeah.
have like,
No.
and he sold drugs, so I was just in the car with the big handle of brown liquor and the 2 liter Coca Cola down on the floorboard, just me just getting wasted the way that I used to drink so fast and always have. That's kind of a thing with me too. Drink really fast and I don't need a chaser type of deal.
That happened to me. I could drink really fast. When I was 16, I got alcohol poisoning because I drank a fifth of Bacardi in 10 minutes.
Trying to
And,
show out.
and
Alcohol poisoning is no joke.
I ended up in the hospital. It's not like I'm exaggerating. No, I had a no, I got taken to the hospital and they had to, almost had to pump my stomach and shit. Um, and it's I didn't drink it with a chaser. I drank it straight out of the bottle because it was orange flavored, so it was easy just to chug.
Right.
And I was more of a clear liquor fan in high school. Like vodka, you can mix vodka with Gatorade and walk around town. We lived in a very walkable town where
Yeah.
you didn't need you it was a 1 square mile town but with 10,000 people. So you knew everybody and you
Right.
could just go to 7-Eleven and get a Gatorade, go around the side and dump some out, pour in some vodka, shake up the bottle and be good to go with, your Gatorade and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even a big beer drinker until like my junior year of high school. And I only drank beer for like 2 years and then I switched back to liquor again or twisted tea. I could drink twisted tea up until the day I quit drinking. I
That's
had
not
a
wrong.
I had a relapse with I went 13 months without alcohol and my all the drugs. I went 13 months and I drank again one twisted tea, which isn't a very manly thing to say. That
Right.
I
True.
lost my sobriety over a 6 pack of twisted tea. Um,
People are crazy
so
about twisted tea. Trust me, I know.
yeah, the problem was they went down so easy, and you could chug them so easy.
That's what it is.
Um, so you're getting driven around. What kind of drugs was he selling?
Back then, just weed.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and that was 2014 or 2013. So like, drug dealers made money off weed, but he only dealt with like
Little
um
like grams and eighths.
a little bit, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. So yeah, he was out all the time, and for some reason, I just kind of got like hooked on riding with him and just living the lifestyle, eating out all the time and partying, always having somewhere to go chill. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're out there selling, then you're meeting people that have their own place that you make friends with.
Yeah.
I know I always became friends with my dealers, whether it was, weed or whether it was pills. I
Yeah.
always, wound up being friends with my dealers and finding ways to hang out with them because I always wanted to be around my drug of choice, no matter
Right.
what it was.
Yeah.
Um,
You want
and
people
now,
to be feeling the same way as you.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I haven't smoked in over 5 months now because I gave that up.
Cigarettes or
No, I
uh,
still smoke cigarettes. I
yeah,
still smoke cigarettes. That's
but
something I'm working on. But weed I haven't smoked, and I gave up benzos and I gave up weed April 1st.
okay. Nice.
So
Congrats.
thank you. I've found myself smoking all day, every day. I found myself snorting my Valium and things that you're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that, it's time to cut the shit
Yeah.
and grow up a little bit. So, because
Okay.
I'll be 38 the end of September.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. It's just not a good feeling like you need something that's not. completely good for you.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. So that's why I'm feeling a lot better now, a few months into it. When does your drinking progress even more? You said in your 20s?
Definitely, probably um, after I had my first daughter. Uh, I had her at 19, so turned 20. I was still able to drink though. I had this older friend that I met in Orlando. My baby daddy made me quit Universal to be his little trap queen, pretty much. And I met this older woman named Renata, and she was like 30 something, and I was only 20. Oh, I met her because we worked at a call center together, which is big in Orlando.
Yeah.
So I must have been 18. Well, I don't know. But I met her, and she, even after I had the baby, just, she was an alcoholic, definitely. And she popped Adderall all the time. And
You were able to quit drinking when you were pregnant?
I was with that pregnancy, yeah. Um, I was so sick, and I turned into just a real cranky girlfriend. And I pretty much stopped doing all the riding around with him and stuff. I just got, into mom mode, which is something you feel when you're pregnant and you're just like, start taking things more seriously. And, um, but after I had her, I got pretty much right back into partying because her dad had got locked up and I was just kind of down there by myself and partying with older people, like in their 30s, some 40s. So it was just not good. Yeah. And those people are like homeless and meth heads now, so it's crazy. But
Did
it
you
was people that I met from a call center, so that's kind of what it all leads back to. If you ask anybody in Florida or that's from Florida what type of people work at call centers, they're not good. They're Most people that work there do drugs and probably have a cup in their hand full of liquor the whole day.
It's funny because I basically do a call center kind of job. Well, I take calls all day.
Yeah, so there's like really hood call centers in Orlando that sell like um, vacation packages and home alarm systems and stuff back in those days. Yeah. It's an easy job to get and they really want people, so a bunch of people that can't keep a job run through there, you know?
A high turnover rate.
Very.
How old are you now?
I'm 28.
Okay, so this was about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you live when you were pregnant and had the baby? Were you at your boyfriend's mom still, or were you back with your dad?
No, we got our own apartment in Winter Park, um, which is right outside of Orlando. And we were just there. And that's where I lived whenever he got locked up for trafficking, because that's when he decided to start driving to Colorado and going to get bud from over there and bringing it back to Florida on wheels. And he got arrested in Missouri, I think, when the baby was like 5 weeks old. So his friends in Orlando had to like help me and stuff because I didn't have any money. I relied on him and I needed like all type of stuff for the baby, and they helped pay my bills and stuff while he was away. Um, he got to come home for a little bit, and he also left me with like $10,000 cash whenever he got locked up. So I was able to pay the rent with that for a little bit until I got robbed.
You got robbed?
Yeah, I got robbed.
Like
Uh,
someone broke in?
I met a Puerto Rican at the call center. Really cool guy at first. I think he he did a bunch of cocaine. So, um, long story short, we went out one night. He knew I had that money because I have a big mouth. And I was like, yeah, Reggie left me, with plenty of money, blah, blah, blah. So he knew. Um, and we went out to a club, and I drove my car there, and I had him hold my purse while we were bar hopping downtown in Orlando. And basically, I must have been partying, and he had the keys to my car and went to my car, drove to the apartment, unlocked the door, and what's the word? Rummaged through my whole apartment to find it, which it was hidden on the top of my closet under all of his clothes. Straight cash. So I went home the next morning and I was like, why are all the drawers open and everything? And then I thought that I hid the money because, I was drunk.
Yeah.
Also, there's a whole missing part. I left the club and didn't have my car, So it was a process getting home for sure at 3 in the morning in Orlando in the rain. And I thought that I hid the money. So that whole next day, it was just me being deliriously hungover, looking for this money. Yeah, because after that, I was just screwed. And then had to go into a single mother program in Orlando because I was the right age for them to accept me. And uh, yeah, I had to get rid of that apartment, went into the single mother program. They set me up in school. They paid for the apartment, which I had to have a roommate. Um, so I did that for like a year, I want to say.
How old were you?
I must have been 21 and like 21 the whole
Is
year.
it now? What's the single mother program? Like, I haven't heard of that.
It was called the Covenant House, and it was in Orlando. It's probably still a thing, and it's for young women who are single mothers that are going through hardship and pretty much homeless. So that was me, and I'm good at finding resources and things like that. And I called them, and they just accepted me, luckily, because normally they were like full. And they took me and my daughter and just put us in an apartment with some other girl for, and I did that for the next year until my until her dad got out. But I'm kind of blanking on like what happened after that.
Did your roommate have a kid too?
Yeah, she did.
Around the same age as you, or is she older?
Yep, she was the same age, actually a little younger, and her name was Tremaine. And yeah, things didn't end well with her. I remember that, but for some reason I can't remember like where I went from there.
Were you drinking when you were there?
Yeah, I was. I pretty sure I turned 21, so I was able to go get wine. I think I was on a wine kick back then, maybe because I was a mom.
Yeah.
Like, I'll just drink these 2 bottles of wine and be fine.
Well, and society tells you that you're allowed to drink wine as a mom.
Right.
Like, there's literally signs that say wine time on it, or it's socially acceptable to drink wine if you're a mom.
There is.
So I can totally see that being a thing, and because you're a mom now, so it's okay. Now,
Right.
you keep saying your oldest kid. Do you have any other kids?
I have a young daughter. She's almost 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
But
do.
not the same guy.
Not the same guy, no. Um, the my youngest daughter's dad. had like a fling with him since 2011, and I had met him in the mix of me being locked up and stuff. So like just when him and I started getting close, I got sent to group home. And then when I got out, he had went to jail 2 days before I got out. So we kept missing each other. But basically in 2019, I we reunited and had a kid pretty quick. And he actually just got out of prison last Friday.
Down in Florida.
Nope, he was here in South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
because the group home.
Yep, I've been back to Charleston multiple times, at least 3 times, and now I'm here again, and this is where I'm gonna stay.
So, how did it end with that first dude, the father? Because you said he got out, and when he got out, it sounds like you moved out of the single moms program when he got out of jail.
Right, but I think we just went back. We, I think we just separated, and I moved. That's the part I can't remember. I want to say like we broke up and I moved up here. I think that's definitely what happened. And I moved, yep, that's what happened. I moved up here into my parents' house again, which is where I'm at now. Um, but for the last time. But yeah, we moved here, and my mom watched my daughter while I was going to serve tables, wait tables. That was a new thing, which is not a good job for an alcoholic, you know, waitressing. So,
Yeah, late hours and cash in your
mm,
pocket every night, and
yeah,
the kitchen staff always has drugs.
absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what goes down. And everybody wants to go to the same bar after work. And yeah, so I wasn't here long though. I ended up finding like a roommate. Her name, well, it doesn't matter her name,
Yes.
but I, we have, her and I lived at 3 different places together. So we lived together for like 3 to 4 years. She was accepting of me and my daughter, and she was really cool. And so for the next 3 or 4 years, you'll know that I lived with this girl, which made me, really independent. I didn't have anybody watching over me. I was single. I was a waitress. That I think the hardest struggle I had was just keeping a babysitter at that time. But I drank a lot, and back then I went through my beer phase. I was drinking Bud Light Platinum, like the big ones, every night. I'd have to go get me at least two after work.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
forget what we used to call them. The big cans.
Right, big glass bottles actually.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the 24-ounce
Tall
big can.
boys,
Tall boys. Thank
tall
you. Yeah.
boys. Yeah,
Yeah, because I lived in North Carolina for like a year.
you did.
Yep. And so I remember how easy it was to go to the gas station and buy beer or wine.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
because I'm from Jersey originally. And
Hmm.
in Jersey, there's only dedicated liquor stores that sell beer and wine and liquor. Like
True.
you can't go into a grocery store, you can't go into Walmart, you can't go anywhere to buy any alcohol except for these dedicated stores.
Okay. So they wouldn't even be less percentage. They didn't sell it at all.
They didn't sell it at all.
Okay.
So like it was like culture shock for me when I went to like North Carolina and I went to Walmart and saw a whole aisle of beer and
Right. More available to you.
Food Lion or whatever you want to, all the different places. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like they're selling beer and wine right inside these stores.
That's funny.
Like I wasn't aware that you could even do that because I was born and raised in Jersey.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy to, just go and have somebody buy you some beer, or if you're underage, I mean. But even if you are of age, you can go and get a pack of smokes and grab beer and be good to go.
Up there, they didn't really like ID you or anything.
No, they did. They were hardcore about their IDs for, liquor stores. They always carded. I had
Yeah.
a fake ID, and when I was 20, and I had a fake ID, and I was able to go to the liquor store in my town and use my ID. I remember I was leaving a Flyers game one night,
Mm-hmm.
and I called the liquor store and I said it's JD from Best Buy, because I would always go there after work, and I wore like my Best Buy uniform, and I would go there after work so they knew exactly who I was. And I
Right.
said it's JD from Best Buy. I said I'm leaving the Flyers game. You guys close in 10 minutes. I can be there in 20. Can you stay open for me? And they did.
It's a
They
big
stayed
deal.
they
Yeah.
they stayed open late for me. And
Mm.
I got there and I got my beer and I went back to my apartment and we drank. And we were already drunk by the time, because we were getting beer inside the games, because
Mm-hmm.
my fake ID said I was from Philadelphia. Because you can't be in Jersey and have a fake Jersey ID, because they'll be able to tell the difference. But if you have a
Exactly.
Pennsylvania ID, they're less likely to know the difference. So my ID was a Philadelphia address on it and a Pennsylvania ID. I might still have that in my wallet, actually. I never got rid of it. I still I
It's a
still have it
keepsake.
somewhere.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Well, eventually that liquor store got shut down because it turns out they were selling Percocets out of it.
Exactly.
And I was really upset because there's been so many times that I was looking for pills and they were right under my nose the entire time.
I tell you, yeah, you were mad. It's just
Because
the funniest thing is how you like called to make sure they stayed open, and it's just like meeting those deadlines for liquor stores to close has never. It's really important when you're an alcoholic and it's on your mind like the whole time you were probably at the game. Like, are we gonna make it to the liquor
yeah,
store? Yeah.
and we're like the traffic's going to be bad getting out of here, because we lived like I'm from South Jersey, and literally it would take us 10 minutes to drive from the apartment over to the city and park at a game. 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes, and that's not an exaggeration. We lived right by the Walt Whitman Bridge, which you just hop on the bridge and you go over and you're in Philly. And
Wow.
so like you could see the bridge from where like I lived. Like it was right there.
Yeah.
So it was really easy and convenient to go to Phillies games, Flyers games, Eagles games. So that's why when I called them to say I was leaving the game, they knew that I wasn't that far away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, we definitely, I called them. This was 2006 or 2007, somewhere in there is when I did that, because I wasn't 21 yet, and I turned 21 later in September. So yeah, it had to have been like early 2007 when we did that, and they stayed open, and we got there. We got like a couple 30 packs and went back to my apartment. There was four of us, and we drank all night. And because of work in retail, I was getting drunk at night and sleeping in because my work shift wouldn't start till like 2.
Yep.
So I'd be able to drink until 3, 4 in the morning. And then when I turned 21, it was on. You know what I mean? That's when I started really drinking even harder, going to the bars 6, 7 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
Different bars had different specials, like dollar drinks,
Yeah.
and just follow the specials and go end up at your usual bar where you can get hooked up at. There was a bar in our town called Giuseppe's, and at 3 o'clock when the bars are supposed to shut down, they would lock the doors, and
Mm-hmm.
they were allowed to still we were allowed to still stay there and drink. We would be in the back in the kitchen making food, We'd
Yeah.
be smoking cigarettes at the bar because they were closed. We had ashtrays all over, just smoking at the bar. And we would be in there till like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then like stumbling out as the sun was coming up.
Right. That's so depressing. This is so depressing.
I know, and we did that so many times. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And
they had bars like that in Orlando for sure, and they were usually ran by either Jamaicans or Indians for some reason.
that's how the liquor stores were. Is they were a lot of ran by Indians.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's they still are like that down there.
Very true.
I don't know what it's like to go to the liquor store around where I live now because I haven't I've only gone to the liquor store, and this was like 4 years ago because I haven't had a drink in 4.5 years.
Nice.
So it's been some time since I've had a drink, but I
Yeah.
was going through a fifth of Jack Daniels in a night.
Yeah. So what? Show me what a fifth is, like size wise.
It's not a handle. A handle, it's a step below a handle.
Right. Like this big.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That was me. That's what I'll call it as a fifth. Like, but tequila would be my.
1.5 liters.
Yeah. That's how you say it in liters.
Yeah. And I would get a bottle of Coke. I would get a 2 liter bottle of Coke, a fifth of Jack Daniels, and I would make Jack and Cokes all night long out of a big glass
Yeah.
and just be sipping on my Jack and Cokes all night and not even do anything exciting. Just get drunk as hell and fall asleep. And I woke up hungover, and it was leap day, and this was in 2020. And I woke up hungover, and I said to my wife, like, either we need to start drinking right now or we got to quit drinking together. And we both decided to quit. And so my sober date is leap day of 2020. And
Yeah.
then COVID shut down 2 weeks later. And then we were like really into quitting because it's not like we could go to the liquor store and buy more beer because everything was closed.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't realize that shut things down completely for okay, because I was pregnant during that time, so I was kind of sober when COVID started.
Oh, okay. That I was going to ask you about that. So you were living with your mom and your stepdad?
Well, yeah, not during COVID. No. Um,
That's when you were living with that girl that you lived with at 3 different places?
yeah, basically from there, I got back in touch with my youngest daughter's dad, and he lived with his brother. And the first day I went over there, we never separated. So me and Brinley, my oldest, moved in with him and his brother. Um, and
Okay.
that would have been in 2019 ish. Well, maybe 2018. So yeah, um, that would have been about 5 years ago.
2018 doesn't feel like it was 6 years ago. It
No,
doesn't. COVID has messed up timelines. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the thing
and
back that long ago, it doesn't feel like it was that long.
well, like you have been sober for 4.5 years now, right? Well,
Yep.
4 years. Um,
Yeah, I just hit 4.5 on August 29th.
yeah. And I mean, after I had my youngest baby was in 2020. Um, it was right when COVID started. Um, that whole time from 2020 to now is a huge blur for me because I was drinking a lot, a lot, a lot.
And not really drugs, just like maybe some coke here and there.
Yeah, coke, um, ecstasy. When I met, well, when I got back with my youngest daughter's dad, we did a lot of ecstasy together, and he has a lot of energy, so we were out all the time. He drank just like me, very heavily, and I mean, we were the type to where we just had it on us all the time, like liquor, mini bottles. We would get
The
them,
airplane bottles,
huh?
the little airplane bottles.
Yeah, plenty of those. Or we'd just get something big enough to put in our pocket so that we could drink while we're in public. So he would be the one holding it, and hella cigarettes, always got to smoke a cigarette. So it just consumed so much of us, and we would be, it's a shame, but like we were talking about it the other day, how, well, we took the kids to the park the other day, and we were like, you remember when we couldn't come here without sitting at the picnic tables, taking shots of Fireball and smoking cigarettes, and we couldn't come play on the slides with the kids? And it's like, yeah, I did not miss that.
Did you quit smoking cigarettes too?
I smoke like one a day right now, and I vape. I have a vape. Um, yeah, I I want to, but I have my parents like, you need a vice, Michelle. Everybody has their vices. I've heard that for a very long time.
I can't. I don't trust myself with a vape.
Mhm.
My wife just quit smoking her vape. She's been a smoker since she was a teenager, and she quit smoking cigarettes by using a vape. And then
Mhm.
she quit her vape by using nicotine patches.
Okay.
And she's 40, so I keep telling her I'll quit by the time I'm 42. 40 also.
Yeah.
In a couple years, but I don't trust myself with vapes because I feel like I'll smoke so much more if I can just be inside and smoke. Like right now, if I want to smoke a cigarette, I live in an apartment complex, so I can't even just step outside and smoke a cigarette. I
Yeah.
gotta walk through the hallway, go down the steps, go outside, go near where the ashtray is. It's a whole process, like
You probably don't smoke as much right now.
I would smoke so much more if I had when I had my own apartment and I lived by myself, I smoked inside
Mhm.
and I would go through over a pack a day just because I could lay on the couch and just smoke a cigarette. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I could chain smoke and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so I could lay in bed and have a cigarette as I was falling asleep, which is so dangerous.
Yeah.
um, and I would do that in sobriety, like, and even in our old apartment when we weren't in a complex, um, all I had to do was step outside and light up a cigarette, and if it was raining, there was a deck over top of me.
Yeah.
So, like,
Rain or shine.
it's raining today, so I have to go stand outside and get rained on as I'm smoking a cigarette. So it's not as easy for me to smoke these days as it used to be. Before, I could stumble out of the house at 4 a.m. with no shirt on and smoke a cigarette in the absolute nighttime. But now
Right.
I can't do that in an apartment complex. So it's like, oh, I need a cigarette, but do I want to go out there and do that whole thing?
Mhm.
Do I, you know what I mean? Like,
That's
so I
different.
don't, it's better for me that that's why I'm afraid to vape. I'm afraid to have that luxury.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like, I'm mad that I even got started because in the beginning, I didn't feel like it was that addicting. Maybe because I smoked more cigarettes anyway, but like, this thing is so addicting. Like, I want to kick it because it's like I'm always looking for it. And I'm sure you've heard that before. Like, even if I'm laying down and I lose track of it, it's like my hands just start to look for it all over the bed, and it's just
You
so.
just did the exact same thing my wife would do. She would check her brow first.
Oh yeah, it's always in there. Yeah. Mm.
And where I had to get out of bed so she could shake the blankets out and see if they're inside the blankets.
Right.
If you have health insurance, what you should do is have your doctor call in a script of patches. Like
Yeah.
I use nicotine gum when I work, and
Okay.
I use nicotine gum all day long while I work. This way I can, and they're $43 for a case for 100 of them. but I got prescribed nicotine gum through my psychiatrist, so I pay $1 copay.
Wow. Awesome.
And same with my wife. She got prescribed nicotine patches, and instead of spending the money out of pocket for them, she only spent $1 a month on get them through the pharmacy.
I will definitely be doing that. I will. I just went to the doctor the other day, but like, um, I'm gonna call her and see if I can get back in because I can't like just ask her over the phone. But that's a good idea. Patches. I've been thinking about them.
Yeah, they worked for her. She was on the patch for like a month and a half, and then
Mm.
she was able to stop even using the patch, and
She
she
didn't want.
lost no.
Yeah.
And her she has a caretaker because she has MS, so she has a caretaker here. It's 4 days a week, and her caretaker vapes. So it's not like she doesn't not around it. She's around it all the time,
Mhm.
and she still has zero urge to smoke a vape. So I know the patch worked for her. So, and if you have, like, I work for a hospital system, so if you have my chart, that thing where you can see your test results,
I
you could
do.
message your doctor and be like, "Hey, I
Mm.
want to talk to you about, me being getting prescribed a nicotine patch because I heard I can be prescribed that." And they want us to quit smoking.
Sure.
Doctors want us to quit, so they might even just put in a script for you without even having to meet up with them.
That's true.
That's what I did with my nicotine gum. I just sent a message like, "Hey, like I want to try nicotine gum. Can you send in a script for me?"
Right.
Yep, sure, no problem. Thanks for, trying to quit. And it was that simple.
Yeah.
So,
I would have never known you can get that stuff prescribed. So that's
yep.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just pay a copay, whatever your copay is. So I paid $1, and
Mhm.
I pay $1 a month for 100 pack of nicotine gum. And I don't smoke as much during work now because I can just chew the gum as I'm working.
That's sweet. Yeah.
It's funny, I can't chew the gum during a podcast because I feel like all I can see is me chewing, but I can chew gum for 8 hours a day on the phones. Like
Sure.
it doesn't.
Yeah. Like, can you hear it through the mic? Maybe.
I can see it. I can see myself chewing the gum, and that throws me off
Yeah.
in the camera, but I'm not looking at myself while I'm talking to these people. And like, I have a microphone right up against me, you know what I mean, as I'm chewing the
You,
gum.
you definitely hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, I work for a hospital system where I schedule people all day long for like orthopedics and podiatry, wound
Okay.
care. So, and I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 to 6:30.
Not bad. That's a
So,
long shift, though.
well, it's that long because when I had my relapse earlier last year, and
Mhm.
when I quit everything April 1st, I took a month off of work with short-term disability and FMLA,
Oh,
and I wanted to concentrate on going to meetings again.
yeah.
And when got back to work, I said to my manager, "Do you mind if I work an hour later every day, and if I can take an hour and a half long lunch break every day to attend a meeting?" And
Okay.
they said, "Yeah." So every day I clock out at 11:45, and then I'm on Zoom by noon, and I do a Zoom NA meeting from 12 to 1 every day.
That's awesome.
So that's why I work until 6:30. My shift is technically 10 hours.
Right.
And originally my shift was 9 to 5:30. And
Oh,
then
wow.
I'm off on Wednesdays because my wife doesn't have a caregiver on Wednesday.
Mhm.
So I'm off on Wednesdays to make sure I'm available to her. And so I started working 10-hour days to do that. And now I work 11 and a half hour days. So I'm just, the job sucks sometimes because like you have to give bad news, like, "Oh, we can't get you in for 5 months."
Yeah.
And people are pissed off at you. But
Mhm.
there's no other job that's going to give me that kind of leniency.
I was gonna say.
And the nice thing is I don't work more than 2 days in a row. I work Monday,
Okay.
Tuesday, and then I can sleep in Wednesday and have the day off. And then I
Mhm.
work Thursday, Friday, then it's the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Four
it's
days.
nice. Yeah, I don't have to do a 5 day in a row week. My
Mhm.
days are broken, my week's broken up.
Yeah.
I
That's
still
very,
got my smoker's cough.
very flexible. And I only work 4 days a week too, and it's I think I could probably work more if I wanted, but they do the 10-hour routes that they give me. Um, Although today I got off early, but I ran my whole route today. So, um, yeah, I like the job because I'm by myself. But like back to the vaping thing, um, being by myself, I do smoke this a lot just because
Yeah.
every time I get back in the car, it's like, but I went this whole time, this whole hour without hitting it. So
You're allowed to hit it. I don't want you to
I
turn
think
you.
I was gonna ask in the beginning, but it's okay.
Yeah, you're probably better off now. As now we're talking about quitting. Um, you said you had bouts of sobriety. Is that only when you were pregnant?
Pretty much, yeah. Although after my youngest, which I feel like that's when I kind of ran across you in a group or something that I used to post in, like desperately wanting help. And I have postpartum bad, and like her dad went to prison, so my youngest daughter's dad went to prison, so that happened to me again, and it just really depressed me. And I mean, also when my youngest daughter uh, was only 2 weeks old, my her dad's brother, the one that we lived with, that was our roommate, he ended up killing himself, and that really like hurt me. He was my best friend, and I was, still just going through motions, but that hurt my daughter's dad too, and he just blacked out that night when the baby was only 2 weeks old. We had our own apartment. Um, I, got back in my own apartment again right when COVID started. The government started giving me so much money because I was pregnant and they didn't know what COVID did to pregnant people. And at that time, I had worked at a doctor's office. So they were like, just opt out and get unemployment. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what that consisted of, but they were giving me a lot of money. I was making like $8.58 a week off of the COVID funds. But back to when my youngest daughter's dad's brother killed himself, that night, my baby daddy just blacked out and like beat the hell out of me. Um, so there's more trauma right there. He did this outside and in front of my neighbors, and also like went back up in the apartment and locked the door, and jumped out the back window, so my kids were locked in the apartment, and the cops had to come. The only the only reason he stopped beating me up outside was because my neighbor pulled a gun on him, and but the cops had to kick my door down and go get my baby out of there. And then the reason my oldest daughter couldn't unlock the door was because he put the chain on it too. So they were just both in there screaming, and they had to kick the door down. And then they wouldn't let me go back in my apartment until they found him that night. So like, anyways, from that point, he didn't live with us, and he ended up going to prison for 3.5 years, and he just got out last Friday. So once he went to prison, I was just by myself going through postpartum. I didn't have to work because I had a bunch of money saved up,
Oh,
and
that's right. We were going to record, and you had said we can't record because your daughter's dad just got out of prison. And now that was you that I was, because there are so many people that I talk to
right,
when I'm setting up these interviews.
yeah, that was
Uh,
last Friday. Yeah.
and everyone kind of merges until I'm talking to someone like, oh, yeah, you're the one that said
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. So during that time when it was started getting really bad, I was drinking Svedka. That was my thing. Yeah.
I remember my days with Svedka vodka.
Jeez, it's so nasty, and it's just more affordable.
Yep.
Orange juice and Svedka all day, every day. I gained some weight. I was like 220. I just got the depot shot, so like it blew me up, which made me more depressed. And then just drink, 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 drink. And then I got sober because I went to my doctor. I got sober by taking naltrexone one time. She prescribed me naltrexone when I was able to quit for 2 days. Start taking that, and then I got sober for like 6 months. So I know it's crazy, but like we moved to Colorado at this point because my oldest daughter's dad was back out of prison. So I got back with him, and he was in Colorado trapping again, you know? And he's like, come on, I'll take care of you. You don't have to work anymore. I was working for Apple from home, doing just fine, sober, you know? And moved out there with him, ran into some bumps. I was really bored, and I started drinking again. So that would have been like just to speed up the story. So Colorado, I was there for about a year and a half up until June.
Of last year.
Right, June something. From
And
Colorado,
then
I moved here and then to Florida and back here. So it's been a crazy year. But
yeah, you left Colorado and he went back down to Orlando because you met
mm,
up with some friends.
no, it's just like Colorado was not that long ago. I mean,
No,
I think well, my baby was only 1 and she's about to turn 4. So she was 1 or maybe almost 2 when we went to Colorado. And basically, that baby daddy went back to prison and he just got sentenced 20 years. So, but all in all, we had to leave Colorado because I was out there completely by myself. And now we came back here last year. Um, and I want to say it was January we came here of 2023. And I lived with, so we've lived all over the place. And I lived with an old friend of mine and was drinking really bad with her too. Um, and then we moved in June of 2023 last year. We moved back to Orlando with my oldest daughter's dad's mom. Even though he's in prison, I just needed somewhere to go. My parents weren't trying to take me in because I was drinking too much, you know? I was hooked on Adderall and drinking. And so we went down there with her, and I was just down there for a month before I decided to get sober last year, July 19th,
July 19th.
2023. And then I just came here February 4th. So, yeah. My parents were like, okay, you're actually sober. Wow. You can come back here and get your life together rent free. Like, this is the last time, you know? So, this is where I'm at now. And
Are you back on naltrexone or are you doing it all yourself?
no, in last July, I did it all by myself. Um, I I think I got really sick too. Like, I had the flu, so that helped. Um, and I used CBD to help me, like, honestly, back then, to help me get through those days. And I didn't have to do much because I only did Instacart. So it's not like I had to be at a job. So I took a good couple weeks to like binge watch some shows and like really get my head together. And that's when I think I got like a Planet Fitness membership and just tried to really go hard. But I mean, when I moved up here, for some reason I was still seeking naltrexone because I've had cravings. So I did go to my doctor and asked her for naltrexone, but the first day I took it, which was like probably 4 months ago, I think I was having some cravings here, and I took the initiative, like, we're not going to the liquor store, we're gonna go get this dang naltrexone, which I know makes you just not think about alcohol. You just simply don't crave it. But the first day I took it, it causes you to sweat really bad, and I just was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need that.
Did I see you in Hams, the harm
Ham?
reduction page?
Mm, I don't
There's a
know.
lot of, I don't know either. I'm trying to.
It was another sober group, like, I'm pretty sure, and I posted a video, probably drunk one time. Who knows? I forget. I
And
know you and I tried to make a video, I'm pretty sure, the first time I was sober, unless I'm just
no,
tripping.
you could be right.
Yeah.
Um,
I flammed on you multiple times.
a lot of people do. Don't worry about it.
Maybe I wasn't really sober. I don't know.
Now, have you ever thought about going into meetings? Have you ever tried that?
I have. Um, when I was in Colorado on like my first day sober, I went to one in person, but I've never been to one online, which would probably be what I'm would be most interested in.
Yeah, I've gone a lot in person meetings,
Mhm.
but I really found a community on Zoom. So there's NA is non-existent where I live. There's
Okay.
maybe one meeting a week in the area I live in, and I require much more than that for my problem.
Mhm.
And AA is every day around here, but they only want to hear about alcohol and AA. They don't want to hear about drugs.
Right.
And my story is much more than drinking.
Yeah.
Um, I spent 10 years in addiction with pills and opiates.
Yeah.
So, I can't talk about opiates and in AA,
Yeah.
but NA, I can talk about alcohol, I can talk about drugs, I can talk about weed. Um, and weed's not addicting, but it's something that I did every day to
Right. So,
escape the bad feelings, to not have to think, to numb. So I
right.
was using it not as a medicine anymore. Originally, I was using it as a medication. By
Mhm.
this point, I would, when I quit, I was definitely using it to numb and take away bad feelings
Mhm.
instead of feeling my feelings. You know what I mean? So that's why I quit that when I quit the benzos. But that's why I do NA every day at noon, Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends I do Gamblers Anonymous.
Okay.
Um, because I got a problem with gambling too. I got 2 months abstinent from gambling now.
Nice.
Thank you.
Saving
So,
more money.
yep. Except there's sometimes when I see a final, I was a sports better. Sometimes I see a final score and I'm like, damn, I would have won money last night. Um,
Mhm.
but I try not to look at box scores anymore because I don't want to be like, especially now football just started and I was a big football better.
Right.
So I'm not going to really watch any football this year because I don't want to be triggered.
Exactly. So it's like what you need to avoid, and you get better at like noticing those things. Like you said with the weed, you caught yourself like, wait, I'm using this to numb myself. It's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And you can find Zoom AA meetings all over the world any hour of the day.
Mhm.
Um, I had missed my noon meeting a few months ago, my noon AA meeting. And
Yeah.
then I looked up on Zoom. There was a 4 o'clock meeting based out of London. So I did a 4 o'clock meeting with a bunch of people from London. And
Dang.
the next day, I thought that was so cool. I was like, let me look up NA Zoom meetings. And I found one based out of Providence, Rhode Island, and I joined it and I loved it. And I haven't gone to AA since because I love the NA community so much.
Yeah, I would probably prefer that too because my story is a lot more than alcohol as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are working while they're on it. You know what I mean? They're in their car and
Just
they're driving all
listening.
over the place.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Because I could probably attend while I'm working.
Yeah, I can always send you the information for the one I go to. I've
Yeah.
got a lot of people into that meeting because there's a lot of people that are recovering from hard drugs like crack cocaine,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very passionate about they're very not, I don't want to say intense, but they are in a good way where you actually hear a message of hope
Right.
because they're so passionate about their recovery. And I think that's one thing that you haven't done yet that you could be really helpful for you because like you said earlier, you never did therapy, so
Mm-hmm.
you never really talked about your story before. You know what I mean? And I think that's part of the healing process. At least for me, I'm in therapy. I have a therapist, I have a psychiatrist, I have a sponsor, I have
Yeah.
all these people that I can bounce off of. And my wife's sober too.
Mm-hmm.
She does recovery dharma, which is like a Buddhist approach to recovery.
Okay.
And that's something you could check out too, where it's not as like rigid as NA. They have a whole different book, and they have meetings all the time all over the world. And she runs her own meeting Wednesday nights at 7.
Okay.
And she's gotten a lot from that in the last like 5 months that she's been doing those meetings. So there's a lot of communities out there that you could check out that I
Mm-hmm.
could send you information on.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Um, I
because,
just
like you said, your story isn't just alcohol.
yeah. Um, and I haven't had a therapist to talk to, but um, yeah, if if it if it's like a community, do they like chat with each other, or is there just one speaker that speaks and?
No, it's like, okay, so the NA meetings that I do,
Mm-hmm.
um, we do our mandatory readings, like, what is the NA fellowship? Why are we here? These
Mm-hmm.
readings that we do at every meeting. And then there's a book called Just for Today,
Mm-hmm.
where like today is, let's see, today is resentment and forgiveness. Where there has been wrong, the program teaches us the spirit of forgiveness. And it's, like a little breakdown of resentments. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll read the Just for Today meditation, and then there will be a speaker that talks for 15 minutes. And then we do a round robin of everyone can share for up to 5 minutes and talk about, check in with where they're at, or how they related to the speaker, or how they related to Just for Today. And it's
That's
from 12
cool.
to 1. And then my wife's, it's a therapy, you talk for 5 minutes, and then somebody else talks and checks in with their mental health. And so it's not just a one person solo that you have to listen to. It's a lot of people talking about what they call their experience, strength, and hope.
Right.
So there's a lot of, cool things out there to where you don't have to get a therapist to do. And you're good at finding resources. I'm sure you could find a resource for a cheap therapist, not cheap therapist, but one that's like, yeah, I don't, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause I had my therapist through the county assistance,
Yeah. My
and
doctor said psychology today accepts Medicaid, so that's kind of what I'm dealing with. I'm I don't know why I'm stalling on checking it out and trying to find one, but definitely. I mean, I know I told y'all a little bit, but there's so much deeper things, that still haunt me to this day. Just things that have happened, and us as addicts carry around a lot of guilt. especially as moms. Even though my kids were never taken from me, I've brought them really close to being taken from me, and like several times. And also, there was a lot of lost time, a lot of lost time and things that I can't remember. And it's all a blur. So, yeah, I deal with guilt, but I go extra hard every day to try to make myself feel better about it. Like, as a mom, I'm an awesome mom now, but mm,
It'll take time. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. But
There's
yeah,
no
I would love to talk to other people.
yeah, there's no time limit on recovery. There's no like there's no well, once I do this, then I'll be finished. You know what I mean? There's always ways to work on yourself and to work through trauma, to work through our past, to try to connect all the dots. Like you tried your best to connect all the dots, and I appreciate that. And I don't like to dig into too much trauma if that's not something you're ready to talk about. So that's why I don't be like, well, tell me about that more.
Right.
That's
Yeah, it
no
was
good for
hard
anybody.
enough to remember the timeline. I mean,
But
yeah,
you're like me, you moved around a lot. So, you can only be like, okay, I was living here. So it must have been 2017 because I was living
right.
here at the time. Um, I moved 30 times in my addiction.
Oh, yeah, it's part of it.
I
It's part.
kept going with myself though. I was running and I kept going with myself. So like I had a fiance who killed herself and I got up and moved to North Carolina. That's when I moved to North Carolina
Yeah.
and I started drinking every day. And I couldn't get pills as easily, but I could drink very easily. And then I'm at the bar every day, so I'm getting friendly with the bartenders. So that means I can find cocaine easily and started sniffing a lot of coke and drinking, and
Yeah.
it was no good for nobody.
Yeah. Once you're drinking, I mean, I used to feel like if I wanted any drug, I would definitely be able to go find it from a stranger. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yep,
Going
that's
back.
life, though, Michelle.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we finally were able to sit down and talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I started out really nervous, but I'm good now.
Now you feel better about it.
Yeah, yeah, I do.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad that you were able to tell your story for the first time, really,
Yeah.
and kind of relive some of that. And maybe now you'll sit down and put the pen to paper and be like, okay, I was living here, so I was doing this. Maybe some journaling could be good.
I was just about to say, I just started journaling the other day. So that really has been helpful in me sorting out my thoughts because I have so much I want to tell my daughter's father. And it's best to just write things down instead of being so scatterbrained. So, yeah.
Yep. Well,
And,
that's awesome to hear. I think you're doing great. I think that, recovery is exactly what it is. There's no like, um, you've come a long way since you were a teenager.
yeah.
You know what I mean? In the last 15 years and in the last year of being sober, you've come a long way. And
Yeah.
the fact that you already started journaling and you're interested in joining groups to where you can get some therapy, maybe,
Hmm.
because those groups are all free therapy sessions, so gives you a chance to talk in a safe environment where nobody really knows you and doesn't know your past, and you can be more open that way. And like I said, I'll send you a screenshot of NA and I'll send you the screenshot of my wife's meetings on Wednesday nights at 7. um, I think you would like to check out either one of them and you would gain some, knowledge and all that kind of stuff too, and see
Definitely.
that you're not the only one struggling. But
Definitely.
again, thank you so much. I'm glad we got to find the time to sit down finally after the last couple of years of trying to make it work. So
Definitely.
I
Thanks for
think
the talk.
no problem at all. Have a nice weekend.
You too. Bye.
Bye.